Moving forward with the president's wall, the San Diego company who's wading into a bidding battle for contracts.
If we're closer, the ground motion gets larger, and a magnitude 7.3 would be a significant event here.
Ready to shake, rattle, and roll. A closer look at two major fault lines and San Diego's seismic connection.
Avocados from Mexico.
A key ingredient for a party staple, the changes from the White House that could put a dip in guacamole sales. KPBS Evening Edition starts right now. Good evening and thanks for joining us. I'm Ebony Monet. The Department of Homeland Security is set to start accepting bids for the U.S.-Mexico border wall any day now. Some of the companies planning to bid are based here in San Diego. KPBS Fronteras reporter Jean Guerrero spoke to one of them.
RE State Engineering is a small business located on the San Diego Bay, right next to the naval base in NASCO. They've led major construction projects along the Pacific West Coast since 1938, from Alaska to Panama. They've built the nuclear carrier wharfs on the San Diego Bay, helped clean up efforts after the Exxon Valdez oil spill, and dredged channels in both the ocean and the desert. Now, the company wants to build President Trump's border wall.
We're attracted to very complex, difficult projects and harsh environments. That's what we do best.
Ralph Hicks, Vice President of Governmental Affairs, says the company believes in border security, but isn't politically motivated.
But we're focused on the work. We're not a political body, left or right or what have you. We go after the job and provide high-paying jobs for our workforce and great opportunities for our company.
Currently, about 700 miles of fencing exist along the U.S.-Mexico border, with lots of gaps in between due to obstacles like steep mountains, which many engineers argue can't be built over. Hicks says RE State Engineering would be able to build a wall along the entire 2,000-mile border, overcoming those geographical obstacles.
There's hills, there's ravines, there's rivers, there's streams, there's deep sandy conditions. Our proposal will be able to adapt to all those conditions.
The company couldn't release details about its proposal yet because of the competitive nature of the bidding. But it's been working on its proposal since the government filed a pre-solicitation notice on February 24th. The notice asks for a wall of about 30 feet tall that will, quote, meet requirements for aesthetics, anti-climbing, and resistance to tampering or damage. Companies have less than 2 weeks to submit preliminary proposals, then about a month for a full proposal. Hicks says he's not worried about the short time frame.
It's quick, but that's okay. That's the whole advantage that we have. We're not a big mega bureaucracy.
The company has about 50 employees and $30 million worth of equipment. They're able to scale up quickly for large projects by hiring more workers. Hicks says that because they're based in San Diego, they're familiar with the difficult border terrain and can work around it while preserving environmentally sensitive areas. About 200 companies have expressed interest in building the wall. At least 3 of those are in San Diego. Jean Guerrero, KPBS News.
The U.S. Border Patrol may relax lie detector test requirements for veterans and law enforcement. The idea was floated in a memo from the acting commissioner of Customs and Border Protection. It would help achieve President Trump's order of adding 5,000 border agents. The Associated Press reports 2/3 of applicants failed the required polygraph, making it harder to add new agents to the ranks. A new study finds America's workforce will only grow over the next 2 decades if immigrants replace retiring baby boomers. A Pew Research Center report says without immigrants, the working age population will drop from 173 million to 166 million by 2035. With the current rate of immigration, both legal and illegal, the force is projected to grow by 10 million workers up to 183 million by 2035. The Trump administration has announced plans to revamp NAFTA, the 23-year-old trade agreement between the U.S., Mexico, and Canada. Unraveling the complex relationships between the 3 countries won't be easy. KPBS reporter Steve Walsh looks at the impact on just one product: avocados.
To get a sense of what might happen if the North American Free Trade Agreement goes away, look at what happened last year when a group of growers in Mexico slowed down the supply of Hass avocados to the U.S. market.
This one's still pretty hard.
In October, KPBS reporter Jean Guerrero talked to Ponce's restaurant director of operations, Mickey Nab, a week after his supply of Mexican avocados briefly dried up.
As soon as you seat people, you have to let them know, because half of our menu has guacamole or avocado listed as an ingredient in something.
Avocados have become so popular so quickly that it's hard to remember that, for most Americans, avocados have been a staple for less than 20 years. Californians have always loved them, but it took NAFTA to generate the volume that brought them to most places in America.
Avocados from Mexico.
The Texas-based trade group Avocados from Mexico has sponsored Super Bowl ads, like this one from 2016.
But most amazing of all are the avocados from Mexico. They're always in season, so you can enjoy them all year long.
By 2014, Avocados from Mexico says Americans were consuming 1.7 million pounds of avocados, more than double the amount eaten in 1997. To fill the guacamole gap, Americans now import 60% of their avocados from Mexico. Before NAFTA went into effect in 1994, the amount coming from Mexico was literally zero. The U.S. banned all imports of Mexican avocados.
Even minor disruptions in supply can cause public outcry. Remember the satirical meme that followed Obama through his presidency?
A 30-rack of Coors Light is $23 now at Sunstop. Thanks, Obama.
Around the time of the Super Bowl, Twitter started using the same meme to blame President Trump for the rising price of avocados. Prices were just starting to come down when people were preparing their guacamole for the Super Bowl. If you look at the screen, look at No's complaint. Avocados from Mexico are going to cost you an arm and a leg now. Thanks, Trump. Down here at Maximilian, too bad none of us will be able to eat avocados from Mexico again. Thanks, Trump. Just to be clear, President Trump hasn't done anything to NAFTA just yet. Though the outcry should give the White House something to think about as they look at making changes that could impact consumer prices.
Mexican avocados aren't likely to disappear from American shelves. Trade between the two countries would still be governed by the World Trade Organization. Prices are likely to rise as old duties on imported produce, which aren't allowed under NAFTA, begin to reappear. The U.S. sold $17.7 billion in farm products to Mexico. It's our largest export market for apples, pears, and corn. That integration means Mexico can also retaliate if the U.S. imposes new taxes.
The relationship in between the U.S. and Mexico.
Mexican Senator Armando Rios Peters spoke recently at UC San Diego. The senator has a bill that would encourage Mexico to buy corn from places other than the U.S., a move that would hurt farmers in the Midwest.
Is there a tangible fear in Mexico at this point that you could be throwing out the...
Well, there's a lot of uncertainty. The main thing, one of the pillars of NAFTA was uncertainty, and now there is a lack of it because you have a president here that uses Twitter to keep on generating stability to NAFTA and to the relationship Mexico-U.S.
Aside from the president's tweets, congressional Republicans are looking at cutting the tax on exports and imposing a 20% tax on imports, dubbed the Border Adjustment Tax. Trump campaigned on a straight-up 35% tariff on goods coming out of Mexico.
Now let's get to work.
Secretary of Commerce Wilbur Ross said he plans to fix NAFTA to make it a fair deal, not just a trade deal. At the moment, we don't exactly know how any of those ideas will play out. Steve Walsh, KPBS News.
San Diego's largest university will be getting a new president. Today, Elliot Hirschman announced he'll leave San Diego State University in June to become the president of Stevenson University, a small private college in Maryland. In a statement, he cited new personal and professional opportunities as a reason. KPBS editor Tom Fudge has more.
Elliot Hirschman became the president of San Diego State University in 2011 after an earlier career as a college administrator and a psychology professor. Now he's going from being the president of a public university with 35,000 students to the president of a private university with 4,200 students.
Well, it's always a surprise when somebody leaves.
Mary Ruth Carlton is San Diego State's vice president of university relations.
The university it's in his area where he was before he came to San Diego State, Baltimore County. very near his family, and that's important to the Hirschmans.
The president's office said Hirschman was out of town and unavailable for comment. But Carlton says Hirschman had a lot to show for his 6 years as president.
Graduation rates have increased dramatically, 6% in just the last year alone. Elevated our stature as a top research university. We've really made research a big part of the university. Student success, great diversity on the campus.
CSU Chancellor Timothy White also praised Elliot Hirschman, saying his focus on academic excellence and on life-changing educational opportunities for students has contributed to SDSU's emergence as a top public research university. But 2016 was a tough year for Hirschman. On one occasion, demonstrators blocked a police car he tried to leave campus in. They were protesting Hirschman's lukewarm response to and failure to condemn an anti-Islamic flyer on campus that identified students and claimed they were sympathetic to terrorist groups. Carlton said that was a learning experience.
It's one of those things where it gives an opportunity for a university to get together and have better communication.
Hirschman leaves at a time when San Diego State has what some call a golden opportunity to expand onto the old Qualcomm Stadium site. The CSU Chancellor's office says Chancellor White will visit San Diego State soon to begin the process to select an interim president. The next president will be chosen after a national search. Tom Fudge, KPBS News.
A new study finds San Diego's most dangerous earthquake fault is connected to another fault that stretches to Los Angeles. KPBS reporter Susan Murphy reports from Mount Soledad to give us a bird's eye view of the fault system, capable of producing a magnitude 7.3 quake.
The Rose Canyon earthquake fault has long been considered a risk factor. It starts near Silver Strand State Beach, runs under the Coronado Bridge, through downtown, along the I-5, past my location here at Mount Soledad, then shoots slightly offshore as it continues north.
And then it runs parallel to shoreline till Newport Beach, where it steps onshore and goes into the LA basin.
The Rose Canyon and Newport Inglewood faults had been considered separate systems, but geology and geophysics professor Neil Driscoll with Scripps Institution of Oceanography says they're actually one continuous strike-slip fault made of 4 sections. He recently mapped the seafloor and the layers beneath the seafloor to study previous ruptures.
We've spent over 100 days out at sea, plus working in this region for the last decade or so. We've mapped this fault at different scales. We've mapped it at high resolution in the upper part. We've mapped it in lower resolution in the deeper part.
Driscoll says the fault sections are connected by what are called stepovers, points where the fault is horizontally offset.
And so what could happen is that the segments offshore, because the stepovers are small, that it could rupture end to end in the offshore segments.
An offshore rupture could generate a magnitude 7.3 quake, while a land-based break could unleash a 7.4. Driscoll says both the southern and northern land portions of the fault system have previously ruptured. The last major quake on the Rose Canyon portion occurred more than 350 years ago.
But the middle segments offshore haven't ruptured in the last 10 to 13,000 years before present.
Driscoll says to get an idea of the impact of a magnitude 7.3 temblor, just go back to Easter of 2010, when a magnitude 7.2 struck near the border. It was 65 miles south of San Diego.
But most San Diegans will remember that day because there was a lot of ground motion here. So that gives you some kind of estimate. If we're closer, the ground motion gets larger, and a magnitude 7.3 would be a significant event here.
This latest study is a good reminder to be prepared for an earthquake by having a 3-day supply of food and water, a first aid kit, and a family communication plan. Reporting from Mount Soledad, Susan Murphy, KPBS News.
Today, San Diego City Council members received an updated report on the city's need for more fire stations. The issue was studied in 2010 by the consulting firm Citygate. The updated study used new traffic modeling tools and response time data to find out which areas are most in need. One thing hasn't changed since the last report. The city still needs 10 more fire stations to meet its coverage goals. A long-awaited crosswalk has been installed on a busy southeastern San Diego roadway. KPBS reporter Andrew Bowen says business owners, residents, and activists who fought for it are celebrating.
Traffic is zooming along like normal here at Market Street and Denby in the Mount Hope neighborhood. But pedestrians now have things a bit easier. After nearly a year of lobbying, activists got the city to install a crosswalk with flashing lights. It's making it easier and safer for folks to get to a mini market and a community garden on the south side of the street. About 24 people showed up for a celebration and ribbon-cutting ceremony Tuesday evening. Among them was Diane Moss, CEO of the nonprofit Project New Village, which promotes wellness in southeastern San Diego. She says she hopes this one crosswalk is just the start.
If you go 2 blocks down, we probably need another crosswalk there. Some of the eateries were saying, well, this intersection is one intersection, but what about right here? So one thing it's got people talking about what can be done, right? If we work together and work with the right folks to make change.
Janice Hernandez owns the Fresh Garden Market adjacent to the new crosswalk. She says she thinks the upgrade will be good for business because many of her customers arrive on foot.
I think it will help a little bit because everybody will start noticing that, hey, it's not as hard to cross that crosswalk. We're able to get there without getting ourselves killed or hit.
The city has a lot of infrastructure needs and is not taking in nearly enough money to pay for all of them. The so-called infrastructure deficit over the next 5 years is estimated at $1.4 billion. So yes, there are a lot more unfunded crosswalks to be built throughout the city. But for now, residents here are savoring their victory for pedestrian safety.
It does work!
Andrew Bowen, KPBS News.
We're getting a little slice of summer right here in San Diego with sunshine all week long. Janae Shocker has tonight's forecast.
Well, we are certainly in for some absolutely beautiful weather over the next couple of days. The jet stream well off towards the north, and that is really holding all this moisture out towards the northwestern coast of California and all the way north into the Pac Northwest as well. So the wet weather, the snowy weather, really not so much dropping below areas in northern California. So for tonight, San Diego going to stay mainly clear, 56 degrees. We do see a slight shift in our winds, so we are going to be seeing a little bit more cloud cover throughout the evening hours. That's pretty much going to push into Mount Laguna as well, and our overnight temperatures also going to be quite mild into the mountains. 41 for Mount Laguna, in Ramona 45, Borrego Springs 52, and out towards Oceanside 47, so staying just slightly mild there. Into our Thursday, area of high pressure inland continues to bring us some very warm conditions across the entire southwest from the Great Basin all the way out towards the deserts. We are looking at pretty much temperatures going to be above average as well. So for the coast, 78 degrees for our high on Thursday. Then we're going to see that area of high pressure slide inland, and that means afterwards we're going to be seeing a slight cool down here. We're not going to cool down too much, still sitting in those low to mid 70s, but it is going to be just a touch cooler there. And we're going to stay that way as we head through the weekend. Just a couple of more clouds for the weekend, but it should be absolutely beautiful weather as we head out of work on our Friday. Inland, we're looking at temperatures here on our Thursday, 83 degrees. We'll cool off into those lower 80s, 81 degrees through Sunday here. A couple of clouds around as well, but it's going to stay quite warm. So definitely not going to need the jacket during the daytime hours. However, in the evenings and early morning hours, it's just going to be cool in the upper 40s, lower 50s, so a jacket will do you well. Into the mountains we go, and as we head into our Friday, that's where we hit our peak as far as our temperatures for the work week. We're in those mid 60s, and we'll stay there through the weekend as well. By Monday, however, just below 70 degrees for our high, and we'll continue to stay partly sunny as well. And last but not least, the deserts. That's right, we are climbing into the 90s for the first time in a while. By Friday, 91 degrees, and for the weekend, it's going to be hot and partly sunny here, so you're going to need to break out that sunscreen as well. But it should be a good time to get outdoors as long as you're staying hydrated. For KPBS News, I'm Shanae Shocker.
An endangered butterfly is officially back at the San Diego National Wildlife Refuge. Biologists snapped this photo of a Kino checkered spot butterfly this week. They're endangered because development has claimed much of their natural habitat. The vaquita is the world's most endangered marine mammal. Fewer than 30 remain. They live right here in the waters near San Diego. Advocates say emergency action is needed. Here's more from Dr. Barbara Taylor, who's at the forefront of the efforts to save the vaquita.
It's a lovely little animal about my size, about 5 feet long. It has sort of the goth look with black mascara and dark lips. And it's the smallest and now, sadly, the rarest of the marine cetaceans, which is a whale, porpoise, or dolphin in the world. The vaquitas, as long as we've known that they existed, which is only about 50 years, have been steadily declining, and just in the last few years there was an extremely rapid decline because of a new illegal fishery for totoaba, which is a large fish. They too are an endangered species, and their swim bladder, which they use to regulate buoyancy, is used for medicinal soups in China. It's completely protected internationally. It's completely illegal to trade totoabas, but in part because of that, they now are the cocaine of the sea. There are ways to catch fish without using gill nets, and this is a real opportunity because this situation is so close to these urban centers, and we really need a positive example, or we're going to lose another dozen species in as many years. And, you know, the world would be a sadder place without marine mammals in their coastal waters.
Next week, we'll bring you New Voices, a series about young leaders who are working to change southeastern San Diego. As a preview, here's one of them, Wilnisha Sutton, in her own words.
My mom was addicted to drugs when I was younger, so I was in the court systems and things of that nature. When I became a teenager, I was very negative, had a really bad attitude and really negative outlook on life. Got into prostitution, selling drugs, and all kind of things when I was like in my younger 20s, 18, younger 20s. Got pregnant with my son, and that changed everything. Got back into school and started following my dreams, which is singing and really making a name for myself in a positive light here in San Diego. Being a single mom, living in low-income apartments, and you know, that right there was alone was enough for me. Raising a 10-year-old kid, you know, a boy, a man-child. So that right there also was like my motivation to just strive for better and equality or equity for everyone.
People throw your black fist proud out loud. Let me hear you say it now.
Second day of work, actually, at City College, and my cousin called me. He was there when it happened, and he was like, there's this black guy who just got killed in El Cajon City. I went straight from City College to El Cajon City like it was my brother, and it was just, yeah, I just knew it was something that I needed to be a part of.
Me and a lot of my friends, we've been out there, you know what I'm saying, on the front line, making sure that they know that we're not giving up. You know what I'm saying? You can't just keep killing our people and thinking that it's okay. Like, it's not all right. It's not all right.
I just started organizing and using my voice and the tools that I've learned previously to put into action there. But honestly, nothing could prepare me for that moment. It was something surreal, yet something so life-changing and needed. But I just use my voice. Primarily, that's my strength and that's my gift.
Some people want it all, but I don't want nothing at all.
Whether it's in my community or another community, I definitely want to be a help. Definitely want to be a service to the people, to the underdogs. So that's what I'm going to do. I'm going to continuously use my gift and use my big mouth to get things heard.
Y'all dope. Y'all hella dope. Y'all wanna know that?
You can watch the full New Voices stories on Monday and Tuesday next week. Today is International Women's Day. Women's March San Diego is using this spotlight to raise awareness. Organizers are taking part in the National Day Without Woman, encouraging women to skip out on work.
Being a woman is tough no matter where you are, but especially at work, because there's discrimination you can face, there's sexism you can face, and especially if you're a woman of color or a woman of a different religious background or anything like that, there are even deeper levels to the discrimination that you might face. So it's really about bringing light to those different layers of discrimination that women can face and how we can take steps to address them.
A few San Diego businesses drove home the point of a day without woman. In North Park, for instance, people had to find someplace else to buy unique goods. Simply Local closed in support of women. There was Women's Day pride inside the halls of Congress. San Diego Congresswoman Susan Davis tweeted these photos from her office today. She said there was an office fully decked out. She thanked everyone who sent her postcards. And painting the town red at the state capitol. Assemblyman Doug Gloria tweeted this photo of San Diego's delegation at today's women's rally. State Senator Tony Akin, along with Assemblywoman Shirley Weber and Lorena Gonzalez Fletcher, crowded into the selfie. You can find tonight's stories on our website, kpbs.org/evening edition. Thanks for joining us. Have a great night.